Okay, welcome back to Blue Sense Pod, another episode with Ibra, head of strategy, and I said before a moment ago, an ecom celebrity in Australia, I feel, Mr. Aaron Luxmoore from Lexer. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you. I don't know about that. Probably just well known for being on the event circuit.
Yeah. Certainly, can fill a room better than anyone I know in our industry, which is always a good time. Thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we've been working together on a couple of accounts over the last 18 months or so, so I wanted to have a conversation ahead of the event later today. But firstly, let's shout out the t-shirt. We've got
we have new Lexer merch. Yeah. For those that don't know, we have one of our sort of like slogans is that we are data rock stars. So we've converted a few band names to use the word data. So this one's Nirvana, it's just released, it's Nerdata.
Love it.
We also have Daft Punk, which is Data Punk.
Yeah.
We have Metallica, Metadata.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga is Lady Data. So yeah,
I've got one of those.
If you need some Lexer merch,
we'll put the ecom link in the notes for the show. All right. So obviously the thing we're here to talk about today, we've got this event later today about omnichannel growth. We're fortunate enough to work across some very large, very cool ecom and retail brands, particularly in fashion in this case that we're talking about today. And so I guess, let's have a bit of a chat around what that looks like, where it's useful, where it's challenging. We'll put it out with the content that's going to be out later today.
Awesome.
So we start with this omnichannel idea. You've got retail stores, a couple of these clients that we work with, they've got a couple hundred stores in Australia, something like that. And you look at them and the size of their business. Actually, in many cases, I look at their media spend and I go, wow, I'm actually surprised they don't spend nearly as much on ads, because we have businesses that are much smaller companies that spend way more money because they just don't have that retail footprint. They need to spend a lot more money to generate that visibility, which is an interesting media challenge for us on the advertising side. But it also brings about a different challenge of how do you actually then measure the effectiveness of that activity? And I feel like that's where a tool like Lexer becomes really, really invaluable to that work. What is it specifically about that omnichannel piece that makes the measurement layer so difficult?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, and we mostly work with omnichannel brands because the challenge that a lot of these retailers have is that they've got data in so many different places. It's fragmented. You've got your data in your e-commerce platform, then you've got your point of sale data, loyalty data, reviews, customer service, email, SMS. It's all sitting in all these different places. So how can you really understand the value of your customer if it's so fragmented? What is the average order value of Scott if you're shopping online and in store? It's in two different platforms. So then you're starting to make business decisions based on usually just online data, or we don't really know if you're a VIP customer or not because we don't know what your true spend is. We don't know how often you would shop because it might look like in Shopify that you come back once every 3 months, but maybe you're shopping in store as well. So you're actually coming back once every 3 weeks. And that changes the way you will then market to that person, knowing how often they shop. And there's also a lot of people that are using online only data to attribute sales. So they're doing Facebook campaigns, they're looking how many clicks that has and how many online orders are made. But then there's brands that are in jewelry or footwear where people want to go in and try them on. And therefore all of those sales in the store are not being attributed to the online marketing. So there's a real gap there. And I think agencies want to be attributed as well for the work they're doing with all the online advertising. And if it's driving in-store foot traffic, that's a win, but it's not being accredited.
Anything what does that look like specifically in a paid media lens? What are the biggest barriers you're running into in an ad account where there's really heavy omnichannel activity?
Yeah, I think it's not really about the ad account itself. It's about the agreement and understanding of who is a new customer for your business and understanding that customers don't buy in one linear way. So essentially, if I buy online, I will not exist forever on your Shopify. I might come back and buy offline again. I might buy from a different store the next time, and then I might come back again and buy online. So there is a whole different journey when it comes to omnichannel. And the data that Lexer provides us with is unbelievably valuable because you might work with the assumption that your online store is your most valuable entry point. When sometimes and many times, when you look into it, you would find that your most valuable customers come from the offline store and then they convert again online. Because as Aaron was saying, especially in fashion or shoewear and any kind of business where I need to try something on before buying it, online can be really valuable for me to see the products, just make sure that, okay, I like this product, I would like to try it on. And you can have all the return policies in place, you can have all the warranties in place that even if I buy online, I don't like it, I can return it. Yet till today, many customers would rather go in store, try it on, feel the fabric, see how it fits, and then they buy offline. And in this case, which channel drove this conversion? That's where the challenge lies. And it really comes down to educating the client, first of all, and having systems in place to be able to measure the true impact of your paid media on both online and offline store as a whole business, rather than looking only at Shopify numbers and celebrate maybe a spike in new customers while your offline store is suffering and vice versa. So I think it's a matter of alignment and understanding that customers do not shop in a linear way. They shop however they want. And in a very simple terms, you can't change how someone wants to shop. You should be there and accompany them in that journey as best as you can.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And the other thing that happens quite a bit is you're talking about people like having a look and browsing online and then going in store. Sometimes they might even leave something in the cart and then they're getting targeted with abandoned cart emails. But they've gone in store and bought that product in store. And then you've wasted all this marketing because you keep targeting them. Then all of a sudden they're getting Facebook ads and Instagram ads. And they're getting frustrated because I bought this product before. So being able to look at that full picture is so important.
It's critical. I mean, so if you break down I'd say the core thesis about how we approach paid media really starts from a belief that essentially all or as much of your media budget needs to be directly accountable to acquiring a new customer, because that's ultimately how these businesses grow. With fashion brands, and particularly larger fashion brands that have either a slow or a fast sort of release cycle of products, there will be some sort of incremental spend where there is budget spent on returning customer that's profitable. But really that customer data is the foundation that allows you to actually be able to accurately make that decision. Obviously, a lot of these, you meet very large brands that are got a super intelligent, really capable digital team internally that are really modern from a technology standpoint. You also meet the complete opposite of that, right? Where it's we've grown to this huge juggernaut business. We're really profitable, but they've sort of got no idea where any of that data is. Where do you start when you go into a brand and you're trying to build that customer foundation?
Yeah, I think the very start, the foundations are getting the single customer view. It's like deduplicating customers or unification is what we call it. So you've got people that have customers that have multiple versions of themselves within your database. You've got, I'll go there with my Gmail account. I'll come back 3 weeks later. I want to get the 10% off when I first buy online, and then I'll use my work email address. So you've got these multiple versions of someone, even if it is just online. You need to deduplicate that first to understand what's their true return rate, average order value, lifetime value, days between orders, etc. So I think that's the foundation. And everyone knows that AI is here to stay and everyone's using AI, and they should be. But your data also needs to be AI ready, because what's happening is people are using AI agents in different ways, and all it's doing is it's getting them more of the wrong answers very quickly because the data is not in order. So if you've got your data in order first, and then you're using AI agents to be able to interpret that data, which is what Lexer has built in, then you've got that foundation right to make the right decisions. I've heard some scary stories of some businesses making very big business decisions based on AI analyzing Shopify data only, for example, and making a decision which is the wrong decision and costing the company a lot of money.
So are you saying Lexer's going to catch me out if I'm using my work email to get a second early bird offer?
It will unify. It's going to merge them together, and it's going to go, you're the same person, and it's going to choose potentially the most recent email or whatever the settings are, and then you will no longer be able to do that.
All right, okay.
You might get away with it the first couple of times.
So then sort of the next question we often get, or one of the early things we spend a lot of time educating on, is attribution. Brands have used a out-of-platform attribution tool. They're looking at in-platform data on Meta, on Google, whatever it might be. Is there a simple example, or is there a couple of ways that a CDXB platform like Lexer makes that conversation easier or exposes learning in that?
Yeah, I think the thing to think of, it's more than just reporting. Attribution is reporting. It's about being able to see more, being able to do things like look at how many one-time buyers you've got, being able to attribute that to look at how many one-time buyers you've got, what is it that they've bought, and what are other people like them buying, to be able to convert them over to a second order. So that will help. It's going to increase things like your average order value, your lifetime spend, your repeat order rate. It's going to help other sorts of attribution, like looking at your offline and online to offline, etc.
Yeah, I mean, that's really useful. Like, we build a number of consulting models that try and solve that question. But let's be clear, like that model is a Google spreadsheet. Yeah. It's a really cool Google spreadsheet. It's really effective. Yeah. But it's very manual to put together. And so like that's really useful for a $7-8 million business that's got 2 Shopify stores and no brick and mortar, that kind of thing, where they, the leverage in a really good CDXB is just not there yet for them to make the investment. But the speed of execution, it sounds like, for a DECJUBA or a Blue Illusion, that kind of thing is the advantage there.
And I think it's about taking a step back and using the data to form the strategy before you even create your segments. Like, sure, you can create segments in your marketing automation platform, but how are you coming up with what segment to create? You need to look at the data, really understand who your customer is, bring in your POS, your email, all your loyalty data, everything together, then use that to make some decisions. Don't just make it an assumption that you should make this Valentine's Day campaign because you've got men and women. Like, have a look and see who are gifters, who's bought in the past, which men have bought for women, women have bought for men, and so on. So using the data to form the strategy will help form the segment, which will help form the marketing campaign, and then all of the attribution after that will be increasing.
How do we then use it? I mean, because this is where like we end up steering, actually like in a very similar way, right? Like, we really encourage brands to not over-index towards attribution information because it's inherently sort of trying to answer a very complex question that it's not really answering fully, and that's where incrementality is so important. So where does BlueSense come into the mix there?
Great question. I will answer you. I just would like to comment on something Aaron said right now, which is really, really important, which is starting from understanding your data to guide your strategy rather than putting together a strategy and then finding a data that fits that strategy. And I have an example for that. So we worked together on DECJUBA, and we were preparing for a new collection launch, I think like 3 months ago. And during our preparation for that launch, we were under the assumption that a new customer would go in store to buy that new collection. But then we used Lexer data and we found out that actually, no, they buy online first and then they would go and buy in store. And that shifted how we were going about the paid media spend allocation. Like, we went from allocating more money towards offline conversions or in-store traffic to drive more traffic online. And the result of that is that it was one of the most successful launches we had with them so far. And year-on-year comparison is massive improvement because, as Aaron was saying, we started from the data that they are having, they own, and then we shaped our strategy based on that. So I think like just this approach makes your life 10 times easier and reduces the possibility of running a test that maybe will not work out for your business and waste, money, dollars, and missing out on many opportunities when it comes to acquiring new customers. So I just wanted to, to iterate on this point because just the example came to me naturally. We just worked on this one a couple of months ago for DECJUBA.
So let's not speak to exact test design for a client, that kind of thing, but how does data like that then inform what a good versus a poor incrementality test looks like?
For sure. So us knowing that in that case and for that specific collection based on historical data, because this is not the first time they are launching this collection, they launch it every year. It's like one of their main launches and happen every year, different products, different fabrics and so on, but same idea all the time. So essentially having this piece of information, then we know that we need to be pushing more percentage of dollars or like more percentage of the ad spend towards the online store. And from there, we can start assigning expectations in terms of what is the uplift that we expect by doing that. Now, if we want to be more granular in this case, we can start separating and splitting states and assigning different percentage and different dollars of spend to different states with different outcomes to be expected to be achieved in this case. We have done the same also with DECJUBA, and results are not to be shared, unfortunately, on this episode. However, what we have observed is there are certain channels that drive more incremental impact for them when it comes to online store, and there are different channels, other channels, which drive more in-store traffic and in-store conversions. And right now, we are collecting this data to prepare for the next launch, so we can more or less repeat. I'm not going to say repeat the same approach, because every launch and every seasonality are different, so you can't always repeat what you have done the last time. But it gives you a benchmark of what you should expect when you are allocating dollars to Facebook versus allocating dollars to YouTube ads or Google ads.
Sure.
And that's how we would go about it without really getting into test designs and on the technical side of it.
I think that's a good point about like the different spends on different channels. I think the other thing a lot of brands are doing is they're just spending the same amount of ad spend on all their customers. Now, if you've got some customers that are spending, 3 times more than someone else and more frequently versus someone that comes once a year and spends a small amount of money, you should be proportioning the ad spend according to the type of customer you've got there as well. I think also there was something before I was going to mention. We were talking about some of those examples with Blue Illusion and DECJUBA and deciding, what products to launch, etc. There's also, you can use the data for deciding things like where you might want to open another store or whether you want to close a store down, because you can have a look at where people live and what location they're shopping in. So we've got a few brands that at the moment are looking about closing a store down because they've got 2 stores that are in a very close vicinity to each other, and there's a huge proportion of customers that are shopping at both. So they've decided to close one, and then on the other hand, they're looking at the data and showing that there's a whole heap of customers that live in this postcode, and it's quite a distance from any other stores, so they're going to open up a store in that postcode. So you can use your data in different ways.
That's sort of really interesting in terms of some of the conversation we've been having. Like something we've been talking about a lot is obviously, you talked about it off the top of like AI analyzing a ton of data and making mistake. Universally, the most consistent question we're getting on AI at the moment is like, can AI be ripping all my creative together automatically? And we're like,
can it?
No, not quite. It can help you speed up the process a lot. Like it can help with production a little bit in the background and stitching things together and that kind of thing. There's some pretty cool tools out there. But in terms of like ideation, driving strategy, like actually finished asset creation, that kind of thing, no, it's not there yet. It's every time we log on, it's like there's another update and someone's doing something else that's cool. It's getting closer to that point. But really what we think is sort of the biggest threat with that is that it just eliminates all of the value arbitrage in where that used to be difficult and expensive to do. Now everyone can do it. And so in store and creating these like really beautiful, authentic experiences, those are the brands that we're seeing like just skyrocket. And that can be, forget a DECJUBA or a Blue Illusion for a moment, that's, a 3-digit number of stores. If you've got 2 and you're looking at, or 5, and you're looking at where's our next like sort of flagship curated event pop up, like store location going to be, that sort of information would be really interesting.
To help, And it's interesting talking about creative. I don't think AI is going to be able to choose make all the right decisions with creative. Like one of the examples we like to look at is what products, let's talk about acquisition, which products are driving high lifetime value customers for acquisition. So if someone comes in and buys that blue shirt, do they then go on to spend $1,000 from the lifetime spend or $200? And being able to know that and say, we're going to start our next acquisition campaign and we're going to use the blue shirt, not the black shirt, because people who buy the black shirt don't end up becoming long-term spenders. That sort of insight is very difficult for AI to do at the moment.
Well, it's like you could put an AI layer on top of your aggregated data set that could help you find the insight. But if the underlying data is terrible, it's just going to fall over.
We are just about to launch our own inbuilt.
Watch this space.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. The agent will be inbuilt. Yep.
How do we connect that back? Like, where is that most effective? We're talking that sort of hierarchy of the overall metrics that we're looking at. For us, it's ultimately going to come down to contribution margin, but that flows through their aMER, their LTV versus their CAC. that like here we're talking about like very different LTVs that might support different CACs, different campaign structures. Like, what is that process like of consuming that data then and using it?
Yeah, so we start with the acquisition metric for us, which is LTGP to INCAC on first order. So I wouldn't really call it LTGP at this point, which let's call it gross profit on first order in relation to CAC. Now, in case of Omni, CAC can mean different things because maybe it's CAC from Shopify new customers only, maybe it's CAC from net new customers for the business overall, or maybe it's CAC from like, everything combined. So that's where you need to, again, like just to have an understanding with your customer and with your client of what is true measurement for you and when it comes to new customers. That's where we start. And that's why what Aaron was mentioning regarding different products provide different outcomes helps us forecast and have different KPIs for campaigns based on what we are pushing in ads. So product A would provide us maybe with a 10x in the next 3 months. Product B provide us with a 2x uplift in the next 3 months. We can't have the same KPI in acquisition, and we need to be aware and conscious of that. So that's how we use the Lexer data to guide our KPIs when it comes to acquisition. And that's really a starting point. And then, as you said, everything then flows to aMER and then contribution margin, and then, all the way down to your net profits if we have visibility over your OPEX. And if not, we stop at contribution margin and we just do comparison year on year and month on month to make sure that we are heading towards the right direction. And that's really in a simple way how we are approaching it right now with Omni.
So we've got a couple of brands that we've been discussing that are live clients. There's multiple others currently in talks that with both of us in different capacities. It's been really exciting putting this event together today because we're sort of like, we've spoken to them a couple of times and you guys have had
Heaps of crossover.
a similar. If we're talking like foundationally for that brand that's coming today or that can't make it today and we're going to share the content with them and this podcast with them, what is that starting point like? I feel like you guys are probably more the foundation and then we're the strategic layer that builds on top of it. Like what's the ideal state for someone that's calling you next week and looking to make that as healthy as possible?
Reframe the question. What's the next step they need to do if they reach out to us, or just a overall strategy with us?
What's the sort of ideal starting point for you guys to really help them get the most out of Lexer?
What we love to do is, instead of just doing a demo and showing here's what our platform does, what we'll do is we actually will ingest the retailer's own data into Lexer, and we'll do a demonstration back to them of their own data. It's the best thing to do. We do it for free, and it's the first way for them to see our product, but also to see their own attributes in the platform, and then they're provided with some free insights. We'll give them a snapshot of what your data looks like today. From there, people get pretty excited, and then we talk about whether they want to go ahead and do that on an ongoing basis. So. Yeah.
Excellent. And for us, I mean, that sort of very similar, like we'll bring in a bunch of the data that they have available, which is usually, for most cases, it's usually going to be Shopify, right? And ad spend and structure and so forth, and look at what are the sort of the immediate insights that we can leverage from that and what would a plan look like over the next 30 days, 90 days.
We should be doing this more together in the early days, it sounds like. We could actually do that live demo of their data, share it with you if they are okay with that, and then you use that as well.
Absolutely.
I haven't done that
yet.
So
watch the space on that front. Ibra, you're more on the tools than either Aaron or I in the day-to-day. Like, what does the sort of ideal operating rhythm look like of working with a client using this information?
Great question. So I think it depends on how you view data to start with and how important it is for you to have 100% of control over where your dollars are being allocated. So once Lexer provides us with the segments that we need to define online, offline customers, overlapping customers, that's where we start layering them in on the ad accounts. And that's when we start to rely on attribution in platform. And hold on, don't lash at me. I'm gonna explain it right now. Just give me a second. We rely on in platform in that case. Within the platform itself, as in, if I'm comparing 3 campaigns within the same platform and I'm using the same channel in this case, so it attributes in the same exact way. It does across all 3 campaigns, and I'm using 3 different segments. For example, that I got from Lexer, which are, let's say, offline only customers online-only customers and lapsed customers, for example, right? I have different KPIs for each one of them. And in that case, attribution is more of a signal because it's contextualized within the same app platform that is using the same attribution model. The fallacy right here with attribution is you would use the same attribution number, or like you would compare numbers between two channels that are using two different attribution models. And it doesn't make that much sense because the two channels, for example, in this case would be Facebook and Google Ads. They sit in two different places or two different touch points when it comes to the customer journey. So we approach it differently from this point of view. And we are aware that Google, for example, most likely for an omnichannel brand will have a massively high ROAS on the platform because the brand is well known and prospects are aware of this brand name, and there is so much that you can capitalize on to have a high in-platform ROAS. However, for us, the goal is actually to lower this number as much as we can while seeing net new customers increase for this brand. So again, it comes down to what is the core goal right here? What do we want to achieve? Do we want to reactivate lapsed customers? That's one goal with different KPI, with different attribution model that you can use, and also different channel you need to use in this case. Do we want to reach net new customers for the business? Then we apply heavy exclusions, which is what we have done with Blue Illusion, for example, where we are excluding all offline customers from 80% of our campaigns, excluding all online customers from the same 80% of our campaigns. And since we have done that, and we will see this later during the presentation, our net new customers are increasing month on month compared to the previous year. So again, it really comes down to just us understanding and agreeing on our main KPI or main goal that we want to achieve. And then that's where Lexer's data become really helpful because we can use it in many different ways and many different shapes. And then us on a technical side, we are aware of the different attribution models that platforms have. And also we are aware of the different role each channel can have in the customer journey, and we are not biased towards one or another. Our ultimate goal for us is P&L. Like we really don't mind having
increased contribution margin.
Like having lower ROAS on one platform compared to the other doesn't really guide the budget allocation. Incrementality guides the budget allocation once we are able to run tests and once we are able to reach that statistical relevancy with the client.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Anything to close us out, or?
Look, parting words from me is AI is here. Make sure your data is clean and all in one place, because you're going to be getting some massively wrong guidance if you haven't got that. So, that's my AI, and
careful execution.
Be careful. Be careful with it.
Yeah.
Shit data in, shit data out.
So, I mean, that's just a staple, really, isn't it? It's like, shit data leads to shit assumptions, and shit assumptions leads to bad strategy and execution.
And then bad results.
Yeah. All right. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
See you on the next one.
See ya. Thank you.